So, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning, I, Dr. Sunita Nikam, delighted to welcome you for today's special session on lean startup and minimum viable product. This event is part of our Institution Innovation Council activity aimed at fostering innovation and entrepreneurial spirit among our students and faculties. Before we begin, let me give a brief overview of today's program. We are fortunate to have Mr. Shriram Chandak, CEO, Udyogwardhini, Nashik, with us today. He will be sharing his valuable insights and experiences on the lean startup approach and the concept of minimum viable product. This topic is crucial for anyone looking to transform innovative ideas into successful startup. Now, let me introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Shriram Chandak, CEO, Udyogwardhini, is dedicated leader in empowering entrepreneurship and skill development. With over a decade of experiences in startup ecosystem, he has built an entrepreneurship education platform at Udyogwardhini, aiming to reduce the learning curve for aspiring entrepreneurs by providing practical and technical industry specific knowledge. Mr. Shriram leads various initiatives focusing on skill development, entrepreneurship development, women empowerment, rural development, and edu-skill, expanding impact across 6 states in India and empowering over 6,000 youth annually. His previous role includes product manager at Tayu, business associates at Vault, and product manager intern at Remedly, where he significantly contributed to optimizing product features and driving business growth. Mr. Shriram holds Master of Science in Entrepreneurship and Innovation from University of San Francisco and Bachelor's in Civil Engineering from Savitribai Phule Pune University. Recognized for his contributions, he has received numerous accolades, including Entrepreneurial Leader of the Year 2019 award and a Bravery Award. His notable achievements include transitioning 25-year-old business from offline to online during COVID-19 lockdown, conducting over 300 webinars with 50,000 live attendees, and growing YouTube subscribers tenfold. Mr. Shriram also made significant strides in digital marketing, increasing email subscribers from 0 to 35,000 and boosting website traffic 40-fold. His publications and recognitions at various levels, such as Gold Medal in Abacus and District Level Talent Search Exam, underscore his commitment to fostering entrepreneurial growth and skill development. Without a further ado, let's welcome Mr. Shriram Chandak to take over the session. Mr. Shriram, thank you for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sunita Madam, for wonderful introduction. And I'm glad to be here and discuss with our participants and basically share my knowledge in the startup ecosystem. And as Dr. Sunita Ma'am guided about me or like introduced me, so I work across various verticals into the startup ecosystem and in general entrepreneurship segment and in the segment of skill development. So I previously studied masters in entrepreneurship and basically I wanted to be into the startup ecosystem in San Francisco, and I've met a lot of investors, startup founders when I was in US, and that exposure, that experience I want to bring back into India. And recently, I'm also starting a new like startup incubation space in Nashik, and it's like a co-working space. So next week or on 15th August, I'll be starting that new space as well. So fine. So today we have topics like lean startup and we have topic like minimal viable product. So I would like to understand quickly about the audience first. If you and I would expect everyone to be very active during the session so that we can make it interactive session. So before that, I think would just like to know who are
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
I had asked 1 minute break. Just 1 second. Yeah. So now we can start. So, in the audience, is anybody into startup ecosystem? Is anybody already in the startup world? What is exploring something in the startup field? Would like to know your thoughts first. If you can put it on chat, maybe are you working on any ideas or anything? Anybody's already into exploring this field?
Mm.
Yeah.
S-
Or maybe you can
Yeah.
just put some light on, like, what areas you are working at or you're looking at, so that I can accordingly I can customize, give relevant examples to you guys. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So just quickly dive down into what is startup first. I think it is important for everyone to understand the startup ecosystem. What is startup? Startup is, a word which has been very famous lately, and everyone is very attracted towards that word. But we have to understand at the foundation level what is a startup and what is a business, or maybe traditional businesses. So anything which is scalable, anything which has a large scale impact is what we call as a startup. Anyone can give me examples on chat box. What do you think? Which startups do we have in India? Anyone can give me example of it? Just put it in chat, uh, so that if anybody wants to give an example of what are the startups in India, um, have you observed any startups in it lately or not? So Flipkart, Zomato, yeah, those are the startups. Grown very well. Zomato is now a public company.
Ola also might be. Ola,
Ola is also a startup. Yeah, it
yeah.
was now it's a Ola Electric is now going
Yeah,
public.
they are going public. The IPO is out.
IPO is out, yes. But yes, it was very small company. I mean, it was just an idea couple of years back, but now they invested, raised money, and now they're public, and now they have multiple electric vehicles in market. Like the founder of Ola, Bhavesh Agrawal, I mean, he did not have any experience of, manufacturing, but he still built it, and it's now an IPO company. Now it's a public company. So it's a very good example, startup going public. It's a very big thing for India's ecosystem. Zomato is again, it was a very small startup, and now it's a public limited company with $30 billion market valuation. So Zomato is another very big success of India's startup ecosystem. Any more? Anyone would like to give an example? Any, like, early stage startups, or if you know any small startups or anything. So yeah, so basically a startup is a venture that is initiated by its founders around an idea or a problem, with the potential for significant business opportunity and impact, right? So this is the primary definition of a startup. The main point to notice here is significant business opportunity and impact. So what we see is, startups are something which has a huge potential. It is not limited to just your geography, or offline, or just restricted to Pune or restricted to Mumbai, or whatever part of the region, but it has a impact across India, across the world. So the market is very big, is what we call as a startup. So, if we just give an example, somebody put it on chat that Zomato is a startup, Ola is a startup. So why these are startups? Because they have big, significant business opportunity. Now Ola is across India. It's not restricted that okay, Ola is only available in Maharashtra. It's not available in other district. It's not the scenario. Zomato, it is available all over India. It's not the scenario that okay, it's Zomato, I can order Zomato only in Delhi, Gurgaon, because the founder is from there, and I cannot order from any other place. So, thing is, anything which is scalable, which has a big business opportunity, is what we call a startup. This is the basic definition, is what we call. And if we look at the traditional fundamental businesses compared to offline business or traditional businesses, so the difference is businesses, traditional business have a limited geography, have a limited business market size. They cannot grow uh, beyond that. Like let's say if I open a Kirana store or a supermarket in one of the local region of Pune, so I cannot that Pune store cannot grow beyond. Like the customer would be only from around that area only. They cannot have potential further customers. But yes, if I make it into a DMart model, which is like a franchisee model, or it can be scaled across many. So we can call that as a startup. So that is the primary difference. And of course, technology is the core of a startup. Technology is very important when we are building a startup. So, so now we are discussing minimum viable product, MVP here. Anybody knows what is MVP? Anybody has, because the term looks, when we hear MVP, it sounds like very difficult, complex thing. Anybody knows what is an MVP here? Anybody can unmute or maybe can put it on chat. Because we all have built something like MVP. We all have seen like an MVP product before. But when these MVPs are built in startups, and then once that MVP is validated, when then and only we see big products coming out of startups. But any just one second, I have got a call. Just one second. Okay, it is an idea solution that is function at a basic level. Okay, that's right. Anybody else can give an example? Anybody? Validation of an idea. Correct. So, basically, MVP is nothing but, when you are building a big startup. So, in that case, first you need to build a very small prototype to get it tested from the market, and that prototype once you build it then you can validate it from the customer. Now let's say if we want to, a very common example is like uh, in manufacturing industry or in automobile industry, wherever there are automobile companies are launching a new product, they first build a MVP of it. So if you see concept cars in the automobile expo exhibitions which are happening, they always have a concept car before launching. So why they build concept cars? Like why they cannot directly build a huge build the product? Why do you think they are building the concept cars? Anybody can give me an example why the reason that why they are building the concept cars?
To understand what is the market eagerness or what is the market interest, uh, how is the market going to respond, what is their feedback, valuable feedbacks, inputs coming in, that
Hmm.
sort of, to get an idea, like to have the feeling of that market.
Hmm. 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 Correct. That's right. So to basically to seek feedback from the customer to understand what is the market, because in automobile industry, whenever anybody want to excitement, disappointment on the feature to seek understand that, right? That's correct. So in automobile industry, wherever you are launching a new car, new product, so it requires a huge investment. One automobile factory costs like $1 billion or maybe like 7-8 thousand crores to launch one line of it, and it takes 4 to 5 years of cycle to build a car. So before launching a car, before setting up the entire factory, machines, all the form works and everything, they always build a prototype which is like handmade. It does not cost you a lot. Like if it, and it once that handmade prototype, when that is built and tested, and we seek the validation from the customers, and upon that, basically, uh, we seek the feedbacks on it, and then after that, they launch the car. So, Elon Musk, we have seen the launches of Cybertruck, Tesla models. Those are the cars which we have seen for the launch. Uh, or maybe let's say this is an example from the automobile industry, but this is something similar which we build across everywhere. So let's say I personally like built when I was building my online software business, online education platform for Udyogwardhini.com. So basically, initially I wanted to test the market and test it in such a way that basically I wanted to see whether my courses are will be operated well or not, whether I will have a good experience from customers or not. I wanted to test that. So now, if I want to start a edtech business at this moment, so what people see that you need to have a software company, software engineers with you. You need to have huge cloud computing power with you. So these are it requires heavy investment when you want to start an edtech business. So, of course, I didn't wanted to go that way. First, I wanted to test whether my products are successful or not. So it is in any sector, like let's say in education sector. So we all know that people are willing to learn online, or even today's session, it's all online. So we are all aware that people are willing to learn online, but we have to see the product first. We have to focus on whether the target audience which we are catering or the course which you are offering, is it viable or not? Is it people are really willing for it or not? So I started building an online product for these online programs of Udyogwardhini. Into a website. I did not invest into technology team. Did not have any recording softwares or learning management systems. Nothing. I did not have anything, but I just wanted to test it. So I built a very basic offline channel, or very manual channel to test the market. So we started conducting free webinars, and with those free webinars, we started enrolling to for the admission. With manual payments, like if anybody wants to make a payment for our course, we used to take it via Google Pay, Phone Pay. These are the simple tools which we used to use, and we used to make a offline admission sheet, like on a Google sheet, and then we used to conduct the course online, via Zoom platform. So we did not invest anything into technology or anything before starting the business. So that was our MVP kind of. So we wanted to test everything offline, everything offline. I mean, without integrating technology, without investing heavily, but we wanted to test whether our courses are successful or not, whether there is requirement for course or not. And then we further started building the technology, core technology for the online programs. So, in even in this photograph, you can see, a minimum viable product. You can see the photos, like there is one ship with which it just works functionally, there is nothing, there is no engine into that, there is no there is the capacity is just one or two people. There is nothing into that. But it works. What it does is functionally it works that if I want to sail in the sea, I can take that boat on this first photograph on the left hand side, and I can just sail across the sea. There is nothing investment, there is very small investment required. Now, to make it viable means that it is not just for me, but I can have some early adopters with me. There can be many people using that boat or ship. So I'll have to make a viable product. So for viable product, I'm using, I've built a larger model where there are many people accommodating, so that I can get it tested from many different sort of customers. So I've made it a viable product, viable. And then the product is something which is tangible. Customers can touch and feel, customer can use it. So, in Auto Expo, we can see that, they put the cars on the display, and customers go sit in the car, touch and feel it, and then they share the experience with their automobile manufacturers. So that's how it works in the startup ecosystem. So this works not only in this, but even if you are into food industry, if you are into education, healthcare, any segment you work, and you will see this pattern. Even if you want to make a medicine or a pill, or injectables, you always have to go through various testings. You have to ensure that you test minimum 100 patients, 1000 patient before going into the large scale manufacturing, and before getting the approvals for the same. So this is how it works. This is an MVP. uh, any everyone clear here till so far? Anybody has a doubt here?
Yeah, it's very much clear.
Yes. Anyone has a doubt can put it on chat. Yes. Okay. So this was MVP, and then the lean startup again. Like lean startup is a similar concept only. Now these are some complex terminologies, complex words which are used for it, but these are very simple concepts. When you work in the real world, you are kind of doing the same thing, but it's a terminology for it, like lean startup. It was basically a book written by Eric Ries. He's a startup founder. I think he's the founder of LinkedIn platform, and he wrote this book, The Lean Startup, and basically initiated that concept. That what is lean startup? Now let's say in a technology business, if you are building a technology startup, so in that the lean startup is nothing but there are many ideas. Everyone has an idea. You build on that. You write, like you do some coding or you do some prototyping. You measure that, then you collect the data. You further you collect the data, you again measure it, you put it on the give it to the customer, you learn something from it, and then again you add additional features. So basically, lean startup is something, it's an approach. I wouldn't say ki, it's a concept, but it's more like an approach. So any startup which you're building, and basically in India, we all have that frugal approach. This the lean startup is, we already Indians are already lean startups. We are very frugal. We are very cost sensitive. So we already have that approach. Now let's say uh, given the example of let's say spaceships, like aircrafts, not aircrafts but rockets. So if you compare the budget of ISRO versus the budget of NASA, so we were able to send a rocket to the moon, a satellite to the moon with just a budget of like 200-300 crores. Whereas if you want to send it to send via NASA, if NASA builds the same, it will take like 2-3 thousand crores. So it is so the budget is very less. So we already are very conservative. We iterate a lot. We have very lean. Lean means very less resources, as much as less materials we can use. We always have that kind of approach. Now, now if everyone knows the SpaceX, like which is a aircraft of or a spaceship company of Elon Musk. So so he has that lean startup approach. Now he built the rockets, and he brought the cost significantly down. So he basically followed this cycle. He had an idea that we should rockets should cost less. So that was his primary idea. So initially he built a rocket which costed significantly low than NASA. So let's say if NASA builds a rocket at 2000 crore, he built the rocket at 1000 crore. So he built it privately. So here he had that idea, he built it across. The next idea, after going through this cycle, the next idea of him was, if I'm building a rocket, why I cannot reuse it? Because rockets are usually one way, one time use product. But if you are spending 1000 crores, why you should not be reusing it? So why nobody thought of landing the rockets? So, in that he went through this cycle many times. He implemented a basic idea. He flew the rocket. He tried to land it. He crashed. The rockets got crashed. So it happened like over 10 times that, he tried, implemented a few things, the rockets got crashed. And after many times, after many attempts, he could finally land a rocket. So just imagine you are building 1000 crore rocket, you shoot it in the space, and you land it back, and you can reuse it again. So how much cost you're saving? You're saving 1000 crore project itself in just one in just one landing. So imagine if a rocket can be used multiple times. So that is the technology which is built it. Now his rockets, each rocket is reusing it for many times, like 30 times, 50 times. So that cost per rocket, cost per launch has reduced drastically. Nobody cannot compete his cost at the moment. He's the cheapest service provider. But why it happened? Because he had this approach. He had this lean approach. He had this frugal approach that you should be doing at very less cost and you should be very competitive, and you should be keep have this approach that you are building, you are implementing, you're learning from it, and then you are again building something new. You're implementing your next idea. So this is lean startup is more of an approach. It's not like a theory, or it's not like if you go Google on about the lean startup, you will find very complex things. But fundamentally, it is that you should be building it at very reasonable cost. You should not, and you should be, constantly updating with new features. That is what something lean startup is all about. So, everyone clear here so far? Anybody has any questions? We can take your questions if you have. Anybody has any thoughts? Anybody wants to give an example of a lean startup or MVP which you have seen? We can discuss those things. But I need some feedbacks response from you, so that frugal cannot compromise on quality. That's correct. So yeah, I mean, frugal approach is not that we are compromising on quality. We are just, building or, utilizing, let's say if a project requires 10 resources. So instead we are just utilizing 5 resources, and but those 5 resources are talented. They are working very hard. So that's more like a frugal approach. So it's not like now in terms of, let's say, a Twitter, when Elon Musk bought Twitter. So it had, more than when he bought Twitter, he had like thousands of employees. And within 1 month, he fired 90% of employees. 90%. Can you imagine? So 90% of employees he fired everyone, but still that startup survived. So that was more of a frugal approach. So he didn't compromise on the quality, nothing happened. The platform is still growing. Twitter.com, which we are using as a social media startup. So that platform is still growing very fast, and it is now become #1 news app in this world. But since he had that frugal approach, he optimized the resources. If one resource is like, vacant for, let's say one has a duty of 8 hours, and if he's just doing work for 2 hours and remaining 6 hours is doing nothing. So why we should not allocate tasks for those remaining 6 hours? So he identified this and, have implemented that. And, now in if a big company can shrink their 90% employees and still functioning well, what is a better example than that? You know, so we this is the, what I would say, it's a mindset. Now, even in my company, when I have like about 30 staff. Now I'm training about 6,000 employees, 6,000 students in 1 year. Now, if I compare with other organizations, if a company training 6,000 people, it would require like, maybe like 100 people, staff. But we are still delivering very well because I'm identifying areas, clubbing multiple decisions or multiple, uh, what do you say? Uh, Multiple tasks, allocating multiple tasks to common resources. I've designed the model in such a way that I can survive lean. So even if tomorrow, if my business goes down, I would be still able to survive it because I'm not, my upfront expenses are not that much. I'm using a very frugal approach, or I'm very using a very lean approach in that case. So, anyone has any thoughts, comments, questions? We can discuss your thoughts, questions. What do you think? Anybody else has a thought about lean startups? Yes, anyone? Any questions here so far?
I have a thought,
Yeah,
Shriram sir.
sure. Sure.
I think regarding this lean, your concepts are right, what you talked about. I can connect with them. The challenge I see is about the explosive growth and the degrowth which you see, which happened with during COVID and post-COVID. So
Hmm.
how people address that?
How people address that? Like when they see exploding growth.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, correct. So, and in that, one has to really identify that is that exploding growth is going to be temporary, or is going it or it's you see that as a permanent growth. That's a consistent growth. Because so that is first thing. And in that, when you're seeing exploding growth in your startup, you have to build a very strong foundation in that case. Because if your foundations are weak, if your foundations are, shaky, then after certain stage, you will shackle down and you can break. So, foundation has to be very strong when you're building a large startup and you are seeing that, you can grow multifold. So how you build the start foundation strong is by the core team which you have. It should be, all should be working towards a common aim. All uh, uh, should have common aim. Everyone should have common aim. All should have their commitment towards the company. All should be have some equity into your startups. You know that if you have multiple co-founders with different roles, so in that case, your foundation team is very strong. And once your foundation team is strong, you can those core team members can further build teams under their guidance. You know, so and you also have to identify whether that growth is permanent or not, whether that growth is temporary or is that going to sustain for a longer period. That you have to constantly discuss with your customers. You know, there are many examples which saw a very explosive growth, but it did not sustain for a long time. And after a certain period, it collapsed. Now, let's say we have seen the example of Byju's. You know, Byju's saw a very exploding growth during COVID, but that growth was coming because there was no other option available. Like everything, all of a sudden, all offline tuition centers, all offline colleges, schools, everything got closed, and there was no other option. So everyone had to switch it online, and they came in online on the those Byju's tabs platforms. But was that really convenient for the parents? So here comes the minimum viable product or MVP stage. So did kids really had to come to the computers, in front of computers? Now parents were not happy, but they did not have any other option. So in that moment, they were like, okay, fine, we'll use during the COVID period is there. We'll use tablets, and we'll work it on tablets, and uh, we'll start our kids will study on those tablets. But after a certain period, parents started realizing that okay, this is not good for their kids. Their screen time is more. They are on the tablets, so maybe apart from study they could be exploring, browsing something else. So the parents realize that okay, the offline environment is more friendlier to for kids to learn. And once the pandemic started wiping out, everyone started moving to offline centers, offline. So that exploding growth during that was not sustainable growth, was not going to sustain a lot. And now we are seeing the repercussions of that. Now the Byju's is, valued at almost $1 billion or maybe less than that. It's almost on the verge of bankruptcy because they did not evolve. They saw the growth in the online stage, but they didn't have a long-term vision that okay, after the COVID, what to do? If we should be focusing more on the offline centers, started building offline center, but it was already late, and the trust from the brand was already gone. So, and there are many other examples, and there are examples which has seen exploding growth, but they have also sustained with that in a longer period. Now, and it with technology, it is possible. Now, with technology, what happens is once if your products are like software products, you don't have to. Once your foundations are built, once your software is built, technology is built, if you want to scale it up, you just have to buy more cloud storage. You just have to buy more servers, and and have start to build supportive customer support team. So in software business, things are relatively easy when the thing starts scaling up, start exploding. And any but To coming to a question, do you have any particular example or any particular reference which you would like to point out, and then want to discuss on that?
Yeah, I offer advisory services to startups, so that's where I experienced a few where people are stuck in that I would call a midlife crisis for a startup because 6 7 years into the industry, they have reached a particular level and they are plateauing. They are not able to scale up the way they had envisioned. That is one challenge. And you gave examples of software world where scalability is easier. Whereas if I go to the other world, where food industry, for example, if
Hmm.
somebody established a quick service model or a home service model, they see the business flourishing, starting up very well, doing well first year or so. Now, how do they scale up their kitchen? How do they scale up their delivery model? This is where they struggle. So they are not able to build the right levels there to maintain their level of quality, their level of delivery timelines. They are struggling with those aspects. So I am here to learn some good ways ahead to address these concerns for them.
Correct. So it is more about delivery, supply chain is where they are struggling. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, yes. Yeah, so see, these things takes time to build, honestly. Uh, uh, when we compare it with the software business, this businesses takes time. But if you see the but these businesses have a longer perishable life. I would say that these businesses sustains for a longer period compared to software business or any other startups. Because the thing is, I think I personally feel that if you have an exploding growth, then you have a shorter lifespan. But if you have a sustained growth and moderately good growth, then your lifespan is a longer. This is what I feel, and this is what I've observed across every sector. So, in not necessary that every sector should be growing, exploding, should be exploding. One QSR or food industry, supply chain industry, I think it requires a more of a training to the staff, setting up structures for the same. Setting up, I would say that putting systems in place is more important. Uh, if you are struggling, if you come at a situation where you are compromising quality, then your uh, lifespan of the company will come down. So, you should be focusing on the quality, that is more important. Growth at all cost was a thing before, but earlier investors, everyone was like growth at all cost. I don't care about anything else. That was the industry scenario. But now the scenarios has changed. Scenarios are like profit at any cost. So profit is very important at the moment. And if your business, if that QSR model is able to build a profitable business, then that is able to grow significantly, then that is able to replicate that model. First, I think most important thing to address, I would say, is that build a model where your delivery is optimized, your supply chains are optimized, and for that particular geography, you're doing very well. And if you are able to do that, then then you should be looking at replicating that model to another geography. Uh, and this all should be sustainable. This all should be profitable model, because a lot of startup struggles with that when the delivery model comes into play, because deliveries are still not that, I would say, still not a profitable business. Even the cloud kitchen QSR industry is still figuring out how they should be relooking at the business. Now there is an example called maybe a Rebel Foods, which is like or there are many startups which focus only on the cloud kitchen model earlier. So after certain period, they realize that cloud kitchen is not that profitable business, because the delivery costs are high, platform fees are very high. You end up with very less margins, and you are still competing with many advertisements on the platform. So getting that many orders is still difficult. So now people have figured out a model in which they're offering cloud kitchen, and they're also offering retail outlets, retail takeaways. So that model is more sustainable in the QSR space lately. So first thing is, built a very strong model. In this cycle which we are seeing is that is fulfilled. you are getting repeat orders. Customers are happy with your restaurants, with your food products. You are getting repeat orders and entire you're fulfilling the deliveries. And at the end of all, you're making a profit. If that model is working out, then you set up a standard operating process, SOPs for the same. And maybe you can figure out a model where you can give it out on a franchisee model, or you can, there are many models like, build, you build, somebody else operate, like Zudio. What Zudio is doing is, Zudio is able to scale, explode. Zudio is exploding, and Zudio is into retail segment, or fashion segment. Now, how do you scale that business? It's a very difficult business to crack. But what they did is, they franchisee owned, company operated model. So what they did is, Zudio, whenever you see a Zudio store around you, so the investment for that store is not from Zudio. It is from some local owner, local builder, who is who owns the space, who builds the space for Zudio, branding, all the guidelines, all are given by Zudio. But this, to maintain the quality, to maintain the optimum efficiency, Zudio is operating those stores. So, and Zudio is sharing the profit with the owners. So that is the model they figured out. In that, Zudio is not investing heavily into the franchises, but it is, it is growing sustainably. It is growing very fast. So without investment, they are able to grow it. On the contrary, there is another segment, or another chain, which is DMart. DMart buys the business. DMart buys the land, they construct the thing, and they own everything. They don't outsource anything. They own the land, building, and they are creating assets. So their business is also assets. At the same time, DMart has figured out, cracked the model of retail. So they are able to offer at a very cheap price. Their model is that it took many years for DMart to set that model, to get the customers, to have that, ensure that one store is making enough profits, so that even if you buy land, build the things, you are still profitable and able to generate enough returns on investment. So they built that model, made it very solid, and then now they are able to replicate it. So I think there is no one solution for all. Every business has to work out their own solution, I would say. And that solution, uh, it now, it comes, DMart is also seeing exploding growth, but DMart is not going the way Zudio is doing. But Zudio is outsourcing the investments and just focusing on the SOPs, whereas DMart wants to own everything. So both have different model, but both are growing very fast. Okay. Okay, so there are two questions. What are some common pitfalls to avoid when building a minimum viable product? And what are some key metrics to track in a lean startup? Okay, so common pitfalls to avoid when building a minimum viable product is what the question is. So common pitfalls, I would say, I would use a very general language, or I would connect with some examples so that everyone understands. So common pitfalls, one I would say is that you should be able to differentiate the customer feedbacks. You should be able to understand which feedbacks you should consider and which you should let go. Because in India, or maybe everywhere around the world, people just want to give you feedbacks, and even if they don't know anything about your industry, even if they don't know anything, but they will still have a lot of feedbacks to give. So you should be able, as a founder, you should be able to differentiate between which are good feedbacks and which are the feedbacks to be ignored, because people will have crazy expectations. Now, let's say in this example of a boat, when you're building this boat, customer will ask you, does this boat have a a fast engine which is growing at a speed of 150 kilometers an hour? Customers will tell you, does this boat have a feature where I get a air conditioned lobby, air conditioned thing? Customer may ask you anything, the everyone gives you feedback based on their backgrounds, their understanding about the product. And you as a founder, you should be deciding what are the important metrics for you, what are the main customers for you, because identifying your target segment is very important. You cannot have everyone as your customer. You at the initial stage should define your customer segment very well. Is important, I would say. uh, So identify your customer segment first. Now, even if I'm building a car, if I'm building a SUV car, maybe let's take an example of SUV. Let's take an example of Thar. Thar is a car, which is more meant for the off-roading things. Now, when during testing the Thar, people give feedback about the comfort. It's not that comfortable. The gear mechanism is a little difficult. You cannot sit comfortably in the back. People give n number of examples. There is no digital technology much. Digital display is not there. Sunroof is not there. People gave so many feedbacks when Thar was testing. But the Thar's customer market was not someone a working professional businessman was not the customer segment for Thar. Thar's customer segment was someone who is interested into off-roading, wants to go, does not care about comfort, but what is more important is power, can go withstand any terrain. If you are into mud, if you are into stuck in water, you should be able to pass that. So as a product, the most important factors were power, and not the customer, and not the luxury was important. So first is you need to identify your customer segment. uh, it- so Thar identified the customer segment as someone who is interested into, uh, uh, off-roading, traveling, adventures. That was the customer segment, and more of like a young age group. People beyond 50 would not buy a Thar. People in the age group of 25 to 40 would be buying a Thar. People, it would be more of a male dominant car, female would not buy the Thar much. So, and people in the rough terrains, not in the cities, but more into the rough terrains, Himalayas, those are the regions where, Thar is the product everyone would like to buy, or maybe rural parts of the India. So they identified the target segment, and then they asked those customers only. So it is same for you. It is same for every business. First, identify your target customer. Uh, there is not a concept that one product fits for all. That it's very difficult in today's generation that uh, you can cater to everyone. So understand your customer segment first, and then ask right customers, right questions. Take feedbacks which are important for you, which you feel are important, and then implement it. Don't take everyone's feedback. Don't work on all feedbacks, because if you start working on it, then you would end up with nothing. You will never be able to build a product which fulfills the requirements. So same goes with me. When I was building my online education platform, customers gave me n number of people told me you should have a mobile app. People told me you should have your own LMS platform. People gave me n number of feedbacks, but I just listened to those which are important, and only those customers, and I've implemented those only. But if you would have people told me you should have pre-recorded lectures, but I was like, people love live lectures. So why not just focus on live? Maybe I can give recording of the live sessions, but focus on live only. That was the need of the customer. So, in your segment also, you have to understand this at the core, and then you should be building your product. So these are, very general thing. What are some key metrics to track in a lean startup? So key metrics to track in a lean startup is, maybe I would, uh, so it depends, business to business. There is no common metric for all. But important is, like, customer retention. Is your customer coming again to you? Repeat rate is what you should be measuring. Because let's say if you are opening a restaurant and customer comes one time, eats, and does not comes back, so that is not a good sign. Because maybe the customer, you're not somewhere fulfilling the customer's requirement. So if you don't have a repeat rate, then that's a problem. So and if you so that is one important metric. Customer repeat rate should be there. All these platforms, Swiggy, Zomato, what do they struggle for? They only struggle for customer repeat rate. They always send you a notification. Are you hungry? Those are the kind of notifications they send. But then, of course, this triggers you to order something. And when you are on the Swiggy, once you get used to the platform, you're repeating orders. You're ordering almost once a week, or many times. Uh, your order repeat rate is higher. So this is important thing which you should be measuring. Apart from that, I would say, in a lean startup, you're all doing cost optimization. So identify budgets across all the sectors you have, and see where the cost is going high. Sometimes the customer acquisition cost is very high. So you have to minimize that cost, identify new channels to minimize that cost. So let's say, now Cred is a platform for credit cards. Now Cred spent almost 700 rupees per user to for user to download the mobile app. 700 rupees. And you know how much money Cred is making behind one user? Just 1 rupee. So if you're earning 1 rupee, and if you're spending 700 rupees for gaining a customer, then you are in trouble. Then you are not doing well. So figure out a way where you can minimize the customer acquisition cost. Uh, if you can do a very easy marketing, if you can do affiliate marketing, if you can build a referral model, where people refer your businesses, they're happy with your product. And when people start referring to other, then you're doing well. And if you are building a model, like affiliate model or referral model, where customers makes money on the referral, then you are poised for a good growth. So customer acquisition cost, customer repeat rate, uh, and then in a lean startup there are other factors. Like, now it all depends on the industry in which you are. What are the key metrics for you important for you to track? uh, but these are primary, because ultimately it is, you're building it for the customers. So if your customers are not coming back, if your customers are not paying you enough, then that is a bigger problem area, I would say. These are primary, I would say. Any more questions here? Anyone has? Okay, so somebody, Dr. DT. Okay, so I have a question: that is your product useful for engineering college? Okay, so if it's about my personal business, like let's say I'm building into, I have an entrepreneurship development platform. So basically I have like 30 to 40 courses, um, which are wide ranging. So anyone, so what I've done is, So there is no one such entrepreneurship program which fits for all. Because when I was, because I personally studied entrepreneurship and in US, and there I figured out that just doing one foundation course, I was not able to clear all my queries because I had a lot of industry specific questions. Now, even in today's session, somebody asked me question for QSR. Like, let's say I want just guidance for the QSR business, QSR startup, and food industry. And so, likewise, there are many industries like electric vehicle is there, solar is there. There are many sectors. So what we are doing is basically we have designed industry specific programs. So we have a restaurant for a cloud kitchen restaurant industry where we teach end to end. Like we teach about the foundation of that industry, uh, foundation of the business, and we also teach about how to build a QSR model, how to build a restaurant model, how to build a cloud kitchen. So this is the model which we have. So for engineering students, we have a program on electric vehicle, where our alumni have started their own EV startups. We have a program on solar business where a lot of our alumni have started, solar startups like solar panel installation, solar. There are many products in solar. So how to install those, how to service those, or maybe if you can do a financing business, you can do a operation and maintenance business, you can do a panel manufacturing. So we cover those aspects on that program. We have programs in real estate, we have programs in construction. So we have a program called Buildership Business Management, where a lot of civil engineering students comes in, and we help them how to become a builder, how to become a constructor, or a realtor. So we teach about all the foundations, like foundation to how to build your building, and then how to sell it, how to find the customers, or how to do the documentation. So these are like kind of the products which we have. So so basically what with this approach, we are able to scale. We are initially when I joined the business in pandemic, during the pandemic, it was all offline, and we had just like 4 to 5 programs, and it was all offline, just focused on Nashik only. Then I started expanding. I converted the business into a platform business. So now we are able to launch a number of courses in the entrepreneurship segment. And so now we have like about 40 courses in the various fields. And the audience is not just India. I mean, not just Nashik. Now it is across India. We have people joining from all over parts of India, literally all the parts. And since we are conducted online, so there is no limit how many customers we can have. We are able to scale it, and we are applying this lean approach. So now we also came to a point where we were struggling for growth, how to grow to the next step, because we launched number of courses, and we are doing digital marketing, but it comes to a point that you are not able to go to the next level of audience. So we recently introduced our affiliate model, where we onboarded our customers, our existing customers. We help them that, okay, if you liked our program, you can further promote in your network. You can promote our free webinars or programs in your network on without investment. You can just use the technology, have a unique link for yourself, and you can, if anybody signs up with your link, you will be able to make money. This model everybody use, like bigger startups like Amazon, Zerodha. This is the model this company uses for to grow. So when we rolled out this like 2 weeks ago, and we onboarded just 2 members initially to test it out, and our flow into the number of inquiries we started getting got doubled within a week, within 2 weeks. Earlier, we used to have like 200 people register each webinar. Now we have about 300, 400 people registering for each webinar. And this happened with just help of like 2 people who are, well connected. They have lots of groups. and they're making money. They're making like, within, I think within just 2 weeks they made about 7,000-8,000 rupees without any investment, without doing any work. They just have to give 5 minutes a day and that's it. There's nothing else. So so there are ways where you address the growth challenge. You address, identify these sectors, and then you implement that. Any questions? Anybody has any more question here?
Yes, I have one question.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sir, as I've gone through Udyogwardhini's uh,
website.
entire
Yeah,
setup, how they were functioning, and I come across various working professionals or students, where
yeah.
this concept of startups keeps up coming quite often.
Mm-hmm.
They have some good ideas. The issue
Right.
is, from as a director of Udyogwardhini, how from my side I can uh, uh, groom them or inform them that what there was a general question is they have those ideas, but how to get them into realities. The basic question arises is because of the finance. Now I'll just like to give an example, like there are concepts like Shark Tank, for example, where
Mm-hmm.
they can put up the ideas and there are some investors ready to put in their money.
Right.
Same way, but on a larger scale, now, when we say our country, India, 60-65% of the population have an agricultural background. That's the main economy of India. We are not only talking about
True.
Zomato or Zerodha or Olas, and because these are more
Correct.
of but what about this 60-65% of the population which they have some ideas, especially from the agro-based industries, and how we can inform them about the finance options available from there, so that they have that that sort of seed money coming in, uh, for their ideas for any startups.
Right. So, so lately, what we only see is like, investors, fundraising through Shark Tank. That is the only way. But, you know, traditional way more is still way more working, when it comes to tier two, tier three cities, or, even in the agro ecosystem. Like there are many NBFCs which are funding you. They are like rather looking for proposals like that. uh, but where people really struggle, or tier two, tier three people struggle uh, is identifying a very good solid business opportunity, or building a strong business model out of it. Now, I personally also work a lot in the tier two, or agri ecosystem or rural ecosystem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
I train into skill development into the areas where reaching by vehicle is not even possible. So
exactly.
I know those areas. Now, what happens is in those areas, uh, if you build a product, or a service, people don't have capacity to pay for your service. Like let's say tomorrow you go to a farmer, introduce a new product or service, maybe an app, or maybe or technology, or a new fertilizer, or maybe a new machine. They don't have capacity to pay for that. But so here comes is the way you make money is different, is it needs to be figured out. Now let's say social media platforms like Facebook, Google, they provide you the platform, but they don't charge you anything. They make money through ads, advertisements. Now, here, if they start asking payments from customers, let's say for Facebook, you want to pay 100 rupees a month, maybe you know everyone will move out of that platform. So similar way, if you in the rural segment, if you are building a new startup, maybe if you make money by, let's say you give an equipment, and after that you see the results, like let's say there is growth in the farmer's income, and then you say that okay, after the growth there is growth in the income, you take certain percentage from them, because primarily they don't have capacity to pay. But if you prove it, and if you are able to help them grow their money, then from that excess amount you can take some installment of it, or maybe you can figure out a model of subscription model. Now there are startups in drone which are coming, like, drone, what do you say, fertilizer, drone spraying is what is happening now. Earlier, when now if you have a big farm like for 5 acres, 10 acres, if you have to spray to every product, every vegetable which is sown, so it takes a lot of effort. It takes like couple of days, and there is wastage. A lot of human efforts are involved. But with drone, you can spray it in just 1 hour. You know, so if you are directly helping them save money, and if you can prove it, then probably your chances of being successful are more feasible. So, so what is more important is, first they should, the startups or these entrepreneurs, this students should be able to develop a business model, which is develop a unique business model, which is profitable and in which customers are willing to pay. And if you are doing it well, then I think funding should never goes a problem, never goes. But if in a case where you require funding to build that prototype or to build that technology, initial piece of it, then in that case, see, I honestly, the investors, these, big investors, they won't fund you much into that, because they are looking for high returns, and they are looking for high paying customers only. But initially, if you are able to build it by just taking some, and this is how it works, is like if you take capital from your friends, relatives, near and dear ones, there are NBFCs, there are government schemes, there are loans from CG, CG, something like CG is their word. There is Mudra loan, now
Yes,
government
yes,
has
yes.
focused on Mudra loan also recently. Their cap for Mudra loan is about 20 lakhs now. So these loans are very easy, accessible to get, and government is focusing more on the rural now. So if you build something with this initially, then I think your chances are very high, provided you build a solid business model out of it.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that answers.
Yes, yes.
Okay, any more questions? So we'll just quickly go through this module, how to evaluate your startup, evaluating startup potential, because there are many factors which comes into play: market opportunity, market timing, growth ambitions, scalability, team structure, team commitment. And if you are able to go, if you are good at all those factors, then probably you are able to build a very solid business out of it. So every first is, you should be able to identify a good market opportunity and a good market timing. Now just for an example, now somebody just gave me asked about rural ecosystem. Now we face this issue that, when we were training into in a rural ecosystem, we identified that uh, there is lack of electricity, or a lot of power outages are happening in the rural ecosystems. And so we just roped in, we just helped one of our entrepreneurs, and we told that, okay, who is like who is like a electrical field and lighting solution, he builds a lighting solution. So we built something like charging, self-charging bulbs. The bulbs charges themselves and they lit up at night. Uh, and then we started introducing that into a rural ecosystem. And we saw very good results for that. Our entrepreneurs are now selling those bulbs across, because it is solving that genuine problem. And it does not require heavy investment. It is a bulb of like 200, 300 rupees, and it gives the light at night. So it solves all the problems. It is cheaper, solves the problem, and it is doing very well. So similarly, okay, so we were discussing about market opportunity. So, if currently in the current stage, uh, what do you think? What are the good startups, or what is the market opportunity available in the market? What are the areas where we see a significant market opportunity or market timing? What do you think? What are the areas in India's currently, where we are seeing a lot of startups are gaining funding, uh, or those are growing very well, or we see that that's our next big thing. What are the areas you think? Anybody can comment?
Consumables, it can
The
be
why?
like, for example, say Blinkit,
Sorry.
like consumables, like, uh, like what, for example, like Blinkit, what is it serving? Like, it can be any consumables, which is the very area sector where it is growing very fast.
So there are two things. Like one is like a product, and one is like quick commerce, which Blinkit is doing. So your answer is it quick commerce or is it the products?
My answer was more driven with the products, with the consumables.
Okay, okay. So that's a very, uh, I would say that there are a number of, it's a consumer economy after all. We have like 1.4 billion people to consume. So there are many segments. There are many products. So yeah, but I would say on the contrary, I would say that the current trend is for the quick commerce. We are seeing a huge rise in Blinkit, Zepto, and now Reliance is coming, DMart is coming, Flipkart is coming with their own quick commerce strategy. Because people now want 10 minutes delivery. People
Exactly. Yeah.
want quick delivery at their home. They don't want to go to the stores. So the segment is, I would say, the quick commerce segment is very growing very fast. If you are able to build something at the moment which solves their problem, which maybe if you are able to build something in the segment of delivery, last minute, last mile transportation, if you are building some technology onto that, maybe so, or maybe if you are building a technology into how to create dark stores. So this is something gaining a lot of traction, gaining a lot of funding. Quick commerce, it is trending across the world. So it's a good segment. One should really focus on, can and not, don't just think of an entire ecosystem and not just quick commerce segment, not just delivery segment. What happens is, now let's say Blinkit is successful. Now people will start trying to build another Blinkit. But instead, if you are building something within that quick commerce segment, maybe you can build a technology which helps Blinkit deliver faster. Maybe if you can build a delivery team which helps Blinkit deliver faster. Maybe if you are able to build a delivery drivers, something, if you are delivery partners, if you are training them, if you are onboarding them, if so anything around this ecosystem, if you're doing, then I think you should be doing good. My friend who is into real estate, so he works with Blinkit and Zepto. So any city where Blinkit goes into, first they identify dark stores. Dark stores means where they can store their products, and those should be, the areas should be very good. The investment should be low, rental should be low, and the connectivity from that dark store should be very good. So this is how they identify. So my friend helps them in real estate. So they have just focused on real estate category of Blinkit. So they help them in identifying dark stores across that city wherever they goes into, and I help them identify a superstore, like which is a warehouse, and then identify stores within the city. So they are more of a real estate player for quick commerce. So things like this works out well. So you can think of your own startup in similar segment, similar fashion. Yeah. So the point I was trying to say is how do you evaluate a potential? So quick commerce is there. Artificial intelligence is very trending at the moment. So anything if you build with the help of AI, if you are integrating artificial intelligence, and if you are with that, you can faster the process, fasten up the process. You are minimizing the cost. So you are poised to be successful. You are poised to gain funding for it. So, AI is integrating in everything, be it call center, like now there are AI call centers where they are just eliminating, the entire workforce and replacing it with a AI bot. Now, AI bot is accepting the call, addressing the customer concerns without customers noticing that there was a they were talking to artificial AI bot. They customers thought that they are talking to a customer support agent. So any field in which you can integrate artificial intelligence, AI, and you are able to improve the things, you can do it. Maybe in the software business now. Now coding is not a challenge anymore. So anyone can do the coding with the help of with the chat GPT, or there is a software called Devin, Claude AI. So coding is also not a challenge anymore. So figure out. Uh, so these are trending areas. Artificial intelligence area is very trending lately in India. So figure out things. Identify electric vehicle is very trending. So anyone who does builds a business not directly in electric vehicle but in that entire ecosystem. So maybe you can build a battery business, maybe you can build a battery recycling business, maybe you can build a supply chain, or maybe you can build a EV spare part, maybe you can do a skill development in electric vehicle. So there are many segments under which you can fall, and you can grab an opportunity. So identifying a very niche is very important. Find out very niche business opportunity, and then you will be able to grow. So this is about startup market opportunity and timing, and you have to figure out the scalability of the same. Is that startup is going to scale? How do you think? What's the roadmap for the same? Do you think it will be 100 crore business? Do you think it will be 1,000 crore business? Figure out a way. Figure it out. So, and then if you see there is a good market size, maybe you can enter that business. Right? So, yeah, this is about the startup, how to evaluate potential. So, any investor who wants to invest in your business, he sees all these things. Is the market opportunity big for your startup? He sees that are you launching it at the correct right time for that business? He discusses with your team. He sees that whether team is committed with you or not. He sees the team structure. If you have all engineers in your team, then probably you don't have a good team. You should have a balanced team. So you should have a good team of creative people, good team from HR department, marketing department, some engineering department. So they see how balanced team structure you have. Someone with a legal knowledge and everywhere. Then someone sees scalability. Are you able to scale? Do you have that passion? And do you have is your product can be replicated anywhere across India? So they see that scalability and they see the growth ambition. That how you personally are interested in growing that, how committed you are there, and do you really want to grow it for the many years. So these are the important factors which people see uh, before investing into your startup. uh, Evaluate your startup in this ways. Okay, so yeah, there are many further points. This is the overview of Indian startup ecosystem. We have about 1,80,000 startups. We have valuation about $500 billion. Active internet user is 75 crores. Total capital investment between 2014 to 23 was $141 billion. So the point is that we are growing very fast. Uh, Before 2014, the startup ecosystem did not have much of an investment or startups or ideas, but now it is growing very well. And now investments are coming up, talent is there. So now overall, I see a very good promising future of India in years ahead. Anybody has any question? I think we'll take more of a question now as we are approaching towards the time. Any last questions anyone has? You can put it on chat box. You can select me personally so that you can just it remains with me. It's not a public question. So any question.
So can you guys give me some brief information about the courses like supply chain management and the blockchain courses what you are conducting at your organization?
Okay, so I don't have programs in the blockchain or supply chain. I have programs in. I'll just quickly share my website. 1 second. One second. So this is our website, udyogwardhini.com. And if you see here, these are our programs. Now, in this, we have entrepreneurship development program in which we help people who do not have an idea. So we help them from idea selection to idea implementation. There is woman development, woman entrepreneurship, which is more of woman centric. We have a solar program. We have export and import program. We have in food sector, we have many programs. So let's say frozen food processing. In this program, we focus on the frozen food supply chain, frozen food processing, manufacturing, ready to cook premixes program, industrial bakery program, spices, fruit and vegetable dehydration, milk products and processing, millets processing. These are into food processing segment. Then there is food business management, in which food packaging, branding, marketing is guided. Food safety is a different workshop. Then there is cloud kitchen startup masterclass, and then there is a restaurant and food business management program. We have program in stock markets like stock market, advanced technical, options trading. Then there is financial industry where financial entrepreneurship is there. In crypto and blockchain, we had a program. We conducted this program, but it is not lately. I don't see a good future in this segment at the moment because there are a lot of rules and regulations still coming up,
Yeah.
and we don't teach about the blockchain fundamental technology. I mean, we do teach, but it is more in covered. More aspects are covered into the financial sector in the world of blockchain. So like let's say Bitcoin is built on the blockchain segment. So we have that pre-recorded program for the same fundamentals of blockchain and crypto, but we are not promoting that much heavily at the moment because the regulations are still not that defined in that segment in India. These are some construction program. Many programs are there in construction. Then there is real estate, where we help them with buildership, business management, land acquisition, real estate consultant. Then there is digital marketing. Then there is business workshops. In startup, we have startup bootcamp, where we teach from how to select an idea, how to build your presentation or pitch deck. And then there is in technology, we have e-commerce, and we have also program on drone. So these are the segment. This program we have built it in recent couple of years only, and now we are adding one program a month. We are identifying areas and able to scale the business. And this is our YouTube channel, where we put a lot of content on our YouTube channel. A lot of content about entrepreneurship is there, and various segments are there. So you can always refer. We recently conducted a webinar on artificial intelligence. So someone from US, like a well-known investor, had joined in. So we had conducted an AI session. You will also find a session on blockchain on our website, blockchain and crypto. Maybe you can refer to that. Maybe you can just have a quick look on that webinar. This is our YouTube, and that's our website, udyogwardhini.com. Cool. Any more questions? Yes. Are there any more questions? We can take few questions if anyone has. Or if not, then maybe you can connect me on LinkedIn. On my LinkedIn, you can connect me, Shriram Chandak, or maybe you can email me if you have email. I'm also dropping my email address if anyone has a question. Shriram@udyogwardhini.com. Yes, yes, Dr. Sunita ma'am. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think now there is no question as such. So thank you, sir, for this insightful presentation and even addressing the questions so comprehensively. We have gained a lot from your expertise and the experience what you are having. As we conclude, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you for taking the time from your busy schedule and to share the knowledge with us. We also thanks to all our participants for their active involvement and enthusiasm. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I think we hope you found this session too much valuable and inspiring. So have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Shriram.